Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And there we are. We are back. We are live. It is 97.7 ESPN The Zone Talkin' Ball. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond with you on a Wednesday morning. Safe travels into work, into school, wherever you may be headed. Today is that first day back for schools all across our area, so safe travels to everybody as you make your way back on this Wednesday. A lot of fun stuff to get through. A lot. I mean, just because the Rose Bowl is in the books doesn't mean we don't have college football concerns here in the state, don't have topics, don't have things to get through here in the state. So plenty of college football still ongoing and plenty of college football conversation going as well. College basketball last night, there was a handful, and I mean just two by handful, of basketball games going on in the SEC, both of them non-conference. The SEC slate does begin this weekend. So really the final tune-ups for several teams heading into SEC play. Tennessee welcomed Norfolk State last night. Fifth-ranked Volunteers come away a winner, 87-50. And 25th-ranked Auburn, who just slipped into the polls this week, they welcomed Pennsylvania last night, or Penn. And Auburn gets a 20-point win, 88-68. Auburn outscores Penn 51-32 in the first half. What has been a concern to Bruce Pearl up to this point, Auburn 11-2 now on the season, has been their second half effort. Several mid-major teams have outscored Auburn in the second half. Auburn has thankfully had big leads, and they've been able to hold on. But Auburn does outscore Penn in the second half, 37-36. Now, if you're looking ahead to SEC play, that'll get underway this weekend. Nobody has a game, I don't think, until Saturday. South Carolina will welcome Mississippi State. That'll get things started for the Gamecocks and Bulldogs. South Carolina 12-1 right now. You look at their non-conference schedule, it has not been challenging, so don't read too much into South Carolina's 12-1 start. Auburn will travel to Arkansas on Saturday, a 1 o'clock tip-off on ESPN2. Alabama will travel to Vanderbilt on Saturday to kick off SEC play. That one is set to get underway at 2:30. And then 5th-ranked Tennessee will welcome 22nd-ranked Ole Miss. Ole Miss and Chris Beard come to town 13-0, Tennessee 10-3. Other matchups, Florida is welcoming 6th-ranked Kentucky. We'll talk more SEC basketball coming up here in just a little bit. After the game last night, Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl on his team's performance.
You could see, especially the way they started the second half, that's a good team. That team's will compete with Harvard and probably Princeton for the Ivy League title. And they were without arguably their best player, their point guard. So it was fortunate for us. That team did beat Villanova early in the year. Played Kentucky, I think it was close at about 10. And so they weren't going to be really super impressed with us. You know, those are pretty high-level guys. But I thought, again, that our front line, obviously Janai Broom dominated in there. And we shared it. We obviously took care of business. Okay, now we get a really good conference play.
Indeed they do, as they will travel to take on Eric Musselman's Arkansas squad on Saturday. So there you go, a little SEC basketball as everybody is finally tuned, ready to go for conference play. It's here, finally.
Yeah, it really is, and it's an interesting opening weekend slate. As you mentioned, number 5 Tennessee getting a win last night. They are going to play Georgia on the road.
Tennessee has Ole Miss at home.
Oh, my bad. Good Lord.
Yeah, we just mentioned that. We just mentioned
that's my
Tennessee
fault.
has Ole Miss.
I was a week ahead. That's
Chris
the next
Beard.
Saturday.
Chris Beard has Ole Miss undefeated right now at 13-0. I don't know.
They have played nobody.
Okay.
Now we'll ask Jake Wimberly about that, but they played a dog and a cat and somebody else. I mean, I'll just say this: Chris Beard, he's a heck of a coach. I thought it was a great hire by Ole Miss, considering what happened to him at Texas.
Wow, you're not joking.
They've
got wins against Bryant, Mount St. Mary's, Sam Houston, Detroit Mercy, Eastern Washington, Alabama State, Temple.
This ain't John Chaney's Temple.
Well, okay, so they're
Fran Dunphy's either.
Their Power 5 wins have been NC State and Memphis.
Memphis is a good win.
UCF and Cal. And that's it. They've beaten Troy. They've beaten Southern Miss. So that has been Ole Miss's 13-0 start.
And then Bryant has, I think, a good win. I want to say Bryant beat like FAU. But, I mean, so that's not, horrendous. But they've played the weakest schedule of anybody.
Next to South Carolina.
Well, that's right. I think I joked that South Carolina has played every directional school in South Kakalaki.
They've played South Carolina upstate.
Yeah.
They've beaten Virginia Tech.
That's a decent win.
They've VMI, DePaul, Grand Canyon. They've beaten Notre Dame. Notre Dame is really bad this year.
Yeah, they're rebuilding.
They've beaten George Washington. They lost to Clemson 72-67.
Yeah.
And they've beaten East Carolina, Charleston Southern, Winthrop, Elon, and Florida A&M.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and then Alabama's at Vanderbilt. So, and Stackhouse has not had a good start. They're 5-8. Now they have had injuries. So we'll see. I mean, right now Kentucky's playing really well. They're gonna go to Florida, and Florida's 10-3. But I really don't know. I don't think Florida has a ton of great wins. I know they got like a triple overtime win the other day.
Florida has beaten Quinnipiac,
yeah,
Grambling, okay. Michigan, East Carolina,
Michigan
Richmond.
was the one that I saw. It was like a double or triple overtime.
They've lost to Baylor and Wake Forest. They've beaten Pitt, Florida State.
Baylor just opened their new building.
A little over 7,000 fans for Baylor's new arena. But the way it's designed is everybody is on top of the court, basically. So it just kind of goes straight up. Yeah. And everything, all the noise and everything is predicated so it goes straight down. Yeah, it's going to be – they say
that's what Alabama wants to do.
They say it seats around 7,000, but it feels like 15,000 when it all gets going in there.
What have I been telling you? Everybody's raising hell because Alabama wants to build a 10,000-seat arena. Baylor, who just won a national championship during the COVID year, builds a 7,000-seat arena. What does that tell you? You don't need 15,000 seats for crying out loud. I mean, if you've seen some of Alabama's crowds in the pre-conference, I mean, hell, you
don't need 5,000.
No.
Let's go out to the phone lines. Jeff from the Borough with us. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
Guys, like I told you guys too, South Carolina, Mississippi State ain't played nobody.
No, that's what we were just talking about. They played the two weekest schedule.
Mississippi State does it every year, and they wonder why they're not in the tournament comes election Sunday.
We hadn't talked about them, but I mean, I would say
Mississippi State has played Arizona State, UT Martin, North Alabama, Washington State, Northwestern, Nichols, Tulane, Murray State, North Texas, Rutgers.
That's
Bethune.
a little bit better than Ole Miss and South Carolina.
Maybe 2% better, a little bit better, a little bit, not much, a little bit. But they're both bad there in the state of Mississippi, so they'll learn. They're both bad anyway, But they ain't got no.
We're gonna find out about Ole Miss. I mean, come on.
Well,
I mean, they're at Tennessee on Saturday, man. We're gonna find out about that.
They play Tennessee and Kentucky. they're gonna lose some games on the road because they're young. They're not going to be. I mean, I don't think they'll lose any at home in conference play, but on the road they're going to. I mean, Florida. So for the Florida game has been sold out about 3 weeks before Christmas.
Oh, I'm not surprised by that, but
slammed.
I still think it's a winnable game for Kentucky, though.
I mean, it is. I'm just saying it's not going to be easy to go in there and win. It's not going to be easy for them to win. As far as they go, and Baylor building the 7,000-seat arena, it shows you they don't care about basketball. That's what
No, it doesn't.
Jeff, come
when you win a natty and build a 7,000,
come on.
So Auburn, when Auburn built their new arena, the Auburn's arena is smaller than the one they had before.
I know.
Yes, but that doesn't mean Baylor, doesn't mean Auburn, doesn't mean they don't care about basketball.
Well, see, how many?
What do you want them to build, a 20,000-seat arena for them to care?
How many championships has the women's team won? 2 or 3? How many have they won?
They've won They won a few under Mulkey.
They won more than the women.
They have. But I still say it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't agree with that one, Jeff. All right, thanks for the phone
there
call.
are a
buddy.
few. Because the Dean Dome, Rupp Arena.
Yeah.
Syracuse. There are arenas out there. I mean, even like you and I talked about it a few weeks ago when Alabama went out to Omaha.
Right.
Like you're familiar with Creighton because you were talking about that's where all the Olympic swimming is.
Yes.
So that one's probably 16,000. I mean, it's a little bit bigger. And Creighton doesn't have football though.
Yeah, I don't think just because you build a 7,000-seat arena doesn't mean.
I didn't even know what the capacity was. I just saw that they cut.
It was a little over 7,000, right around 7,000.
It looked really nice.
Yeah,
I mean, but I don't care if a team builds a smaller arena. I mean, I know sometimes it limits the ticket availability and fans get frustrated by that and things of that nature. But I still think if Alabama ends up building a 10,000-seat arena, that will be.
Creighton's can hold up to 17,352.
So it's one of the bigger ones.
Yeah. Yeah, but I tell you what, though, I guarantee you, okay, as good as Creighton has been and as big as their fan base is, they don't get 17,000 for every game.
No.
They don't get 17,000. A lot of these places that have 15, 16,000-seat arenas,
there's not a lot of
that
them,
many. Yeah, they don't get that many for every game. Iowa's was at 15,500. I guarantee you, Iowa does not get 15,000 for their men's basketball. As much as they support it, they don't get 15,500.
The women are probably outdrawing the men. Right?
They are, but I guarantee the women probably only get maybe like they played last night.
Yeah,
I think they only get like 13,000. They don't sell it out.
I saw the onions from Caitlin Clark against Michigan State.
Another one. All right, Richard is with us real fast. Good morning, Richard.
Morning, Richard.
Hey, morning, guys. On Baylor, their other arena only sat like 8,000.
Was it? I didn't know what their capacity
was. So this one
is. I know. Did you go to see them play Alabama?
Yeah, I went out there a couple of years ago, and Wendell was in the crowd. But it's probably 2 hours from Dallas. So I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So you're not drawing on a weeknight. You're not drawing. Fans. I guess unless the main thing is if you're a fan of Chip and Joanna Gaines and their whatever Magnolia stuff, that's what draws downtown all their shops and things.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing on Bama, on their attendance, the seats you see empty are sold.
Yeah. I know a lot of those are season ticket holders. I understand.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the 10,000 is what's going to change.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're not showing now, what's going to make you show then?
Well, and I do think if they're going to build it similar to Baylor, though, where I think the students are on top of everything, I think it's going to be louder, in my opinion.
It's louder, but my point is that season ticket holders are the ones not showing because they get points for football, basically bowl games and things, and, it's kind of a screwed up system, but like I said, like where you guys sit, in press row, anything, near you that's empty is sold.
Right.
Because they have around 6,000 season ticket holders.
Now, are you headed to Nashville for Vanderbilt?
I am going to Nashville. Actually, I bought 17 tickets, so I got a friend going with me up there.
Yeah, so you got a big crew going, huh?
Yeah. So I'm gonna head up on Saturday and try to pull them through up there against Stackhouse. So.
Wow. I heard there was tickets available, so obviously there was. If you're able to order a block of 17,
there's going to be tickets available.
I did it as a group before they put them on sale in the general public.
Gotcha.
I went out, kind of my crew, and a lot of people were bringing wives or girlfriends out and things. So, one thing on the football real quick, because I know you're going to have to take a break, is, I called in and said we were going to lose 2 or 3 regular season games. So, I was wrong, and Milroe improved 100%. So I would wanted to beat Michigan, but I have 0 complaints when you basically, were behind or tied with teams going into the third and fourth quarter, a lot of games.
Yeah.
We had a lot that could have gone the opposite direction, all during the season. So.
Yeah, it could have, and we've seen some the first of the transfer portal entrants, Shaz Preston, but he never played. He was never going to play. We'll see who else follows, and then we have a coaching.
I think there's 5 guys for Alabama. That I think it's up to 5 now that's in the portal.
I do have a McLaughlin question,
right?
And I may be wrong on this, but I don't know. I know 0 about line play, nothing. But I think when Bryce was there, he was doing a lot, basically working with the line to determine who to block. And I think, I don't think they gave the same responsibilities to Milroe. And so I'm just wondering if that might have been some of McLaughlin's problems, is he's doing more, say, than the year before.
Yeah, I was researching some of that last night. I think he was having to do a lot of the line calls and the checks. I think he did have more on him. I do think he had a wrist injury too early in the season that affected some things. I think at times with a cadence and stuff that he and Milroe weren't on the same page, because Milroe was very, very raw when he won this job. And as somebody pointed out yesterday, because now he's off to Notre Dame to be a lacrosse player. They brought in Tyler Buckner after the spring because the quarterbacks were struggling.
Right.
And Milroe improved a ton, but they were worried about Milroe. And then a lot of people, including myself, still thought even in the fall Ty Simpson would win the job. He did not. And so that's going to be something interesting to see going forward. Is Ty Simpson going to leave, or is he going to stick it out through spring? And then, how much better can Milroe get? I still think he can improve even more. And, what is McLaughlin going to do? Because he has eligibility
He's
left.
coming back.
No, that was fake. That was fake.
Oh, it was fake.
I'll just tell you. I'm going to tell a story here on the show. If I had $1 for how many times I was texted that yesterday, McLaughlin's coming back. McLaughlin's coming back. Look, man, I felt like Jimmy Himes. You have to check these accounts because, I knew I had been following McLaughlin since he was in high school, and I was like, something seems off here, man. This doesn't seem right. So I typed in Seth McLaughlin. I was like, wait a minute. And I checked it, and I found his real account. He's talking about his NIL efforts and helping charities and all this stuff. And then you go to this other one, and it's completely different. And then, of course, then you look down. You don't look down all the way to the end of the bio, and it says satire. And it says established November 2023. I'm like, good Lord, this is fake.
He has 2 degrees already.
He does. He has a bachelor's and a master's. That's correct.
All right, Richard.
See you guys later.
All right, thanks. Thanks for the phone call, bub. All right, 718.
I tell you, it was like that. I was fake.
All right, we got to get a break in. When we come back, we will switch it to college football. Plenty of conversation there. And I want to talk transfer portal for a minute, and then we will talk Washington and who are they playing? Michigan. There we go.
Yeah, they are. Don't forget, like I said, what I was going to say before we go to break, Holman Wiggins, wide receivers coach, he's their longest tenured assistant. He left to go to Texas A&M, replace Damian Craig with Mike Norvell. Now, I did ask this question. What is Trooper Taylor going to coach? Because I thought he was going with him.
Right. We'll fill you in, and we'll talk more about that when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Good morning. Had an injury wreck southbound on the Parkway at Maston Lake, and we had one reported with injuries, 100 block of Amberwood, that's north of Harvest Road. HIMSA cleared on that one. Nobody going to the hospital yet. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue can help you to keep your heart healthy. Captain Egg in the Jordan Lane Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Sitting here with Mark Kent of Southern Fidelity Mortgage Group of Huntsville. Mark, do you help pre-qualify people?
We pre-qualify people all the time, Wes. As a matter of fact, I love having them coming in here because when they come in and they pre-qualify, they can leave my office knowing exactly how much they can buy and have no worries.
Mark, tell me about your rates and pricing.
Well, Wes, this is something we're really, really proud of. Long story short is, I love being able to provide the best pricing in town. Honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I lost a deal to either rate or pricing, something I'm very proud of.
So what all financing options do you have, Mark?
We do several different things. If you're purchasing a home, we can handle the purchase. If you're wanting to refinance your home, of course, rates are at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. We do a lot of refinancing. If you're building a home, we can handle the entire process from breaking ground to the final close.
Do you sleep with your phone?
Wes, if you want to reach me, you can call me at my office phone, which is 256-562-1000. But always remember, I sleep with my cell phone at night. That number is 256-656-5936.
These days, saving time is important, and saving money is even more so. That's where Eagle Masonry and Insulation comes in. Over the years, Eagle has expanded their services to meet the needs of folks like you in our area. Taking care of your property yourself can be a real headache. Eagle can handle it for you. They offer full landscaping services, irrigation, mowing, bush hog, and can install plants and trees, sod, and even landscape borders. Call Eagle Masonry and Insulation today at 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time, and Eagle saves you money.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
The final horse now in the gate, and they're off. They're starting off with a double toe loop jump, leaving a difficult 7-10 split. As there's movement on the inside rail. Only 9 pins separate them now as they head to the final quarter mile. They're neck and neck. It's down to the last frame. Here comes the axle jump. They bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Win, strike, savings, gold.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And here is a little something that you can say, now I understand a little bit more about it, and that is the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Because last night, at midnight, the transfer portal window closed.
For everybody but.
And that is the big old thing. But.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
So if your name if you got the paperwork in at 11:59 last night.
Yes.
11:59, you are good. So you are going to hear in the next 48 hours, 72 hours, you're going to hear guys' names go into the transfer portal. It is because they got their paperwork in at 11:59, and it takes about 24 to 48 hours before your name appears in the transfer portal, okay? Those are the stragglers, if you will. Now, there are 26 FBS teams that will get at least one extra day to enter the portal, because when they changed it from a 45 to 30-day window, there's exemptions that follow, and here you go. Auburn and Maryland, they played in the Music City Bowl on December 30th. They get a 5-day extension, okay? So they have until January 4th to submit their name into the portal. All of the players who participated in a January 1st Bowl, including those in the playoffs, that means Wisconsin, LSU, Iowa, Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas, they have extra time to get their names into the portal. Now, players for Washington and Michigan will have through January 13th to get their names into the transfer portal. So that is why you are seeing guys now from Alabama. You will see guys from Texas put their names into the portal because their window is still open. Washington and Michigan, their windows will remain open until January 13th.
And you did see a few guys from Alabama before the college football playoff throw their names in the portal and end up elsewhere. They didn't. 9 times out of 10, like there were some kids from James Madison who went through their bowl game and stuff that were still in the portal, so you can play, but most of the time they don't. They put their names in the portal and they know, and then they're gone.
All right. Coming up on Monday, we will get that national championship game, Washington at Michigan. We'll throw some nuggets out there as far as that game goes along the way. 256-576-4977. You can be a part of the program. Husky Dan is with us now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dan. Congrats.
Hey, guys. How you doing? I needed a day to recover yesterday.
I was really – I watched a lot of the second half, but because I was trying to recover from the Rose Bowl. But, man, I was really – I could not believe how the last part of the fourth quarter went, because I thought – because Washington was they were dominating the second half. I thought the game was over. And then when Dylan Johnson got hurt, and now they're saying he's going to dress out. When he had to be carted off, I thought no way he'd even play. Well, it'll be interesting to see if he does. But when they had to stop the clock, I thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. I can't believe that Texas is even being given an opportunity. This game should have been over.
Yeah, and then to have our worst cornerback, Elijah Jackson, make the Richard Sherman type play at the end of the game. But
that was a great play. I'll give him credit. And it was not interference.
Again, I was thinking.
Yeah.
But, I like their chances against Michigan. I know Wolverine Dan would disagree with me, but I liken them a lot to Ohio State. But, that was a close game. Technically, there were some mistakes that Ohio State made in that game. Penix just isn't going to do. Michigan is playing the best quarterback that they will play all year. Penix should have won the Heisman Trophy. I really wish they would have had that after the season, not, before the bowl games and everything, because the cream really rises to the top, and he definitely did that. So I think if it's close, then it comes down to coaching, and we have probably one of the best coaches in college football that no one knows about. Kalen DeBoer's motto is winners win. He's just a winner. He's lost one postseason game his whole career, which was a championship game, but this guy is just phenomenal. I don't think any coach in college football has done what he's done in this short a time. It's incredible. We're really lucky to have someone like him. You research more about this guy, and
I've researched it. What he did at his alma mater in the NAIA, he won 3 titles and 4 opportunities, and really, and then the 5 years he was there, his record was obscene. And at one time, I think his head coaching record before he went to Washington was 48-3, and then he's won 21 in a row here at Washington. He's he's just such a likable guy.
People hate him because he's so likable. He's not a jerk. He's just a great. I'm surprised he can't recruit better, but. Maybe that'll happen if he wins a title. I don't know.
I think he's recruited pretty good, considering I think they have as good an offense as there is in college football. I know a lot of it's transfers, but he's been able to fit it.
There's a lot of Peterson recruits there, too. Peterson was a great recruiter.
He did a great job.
Yeah, those are Roma Duze's Peterson. A lot of the defense is Peterson.
Yeah.
Right.
Braylon Trice, yeah. But,
and what I think a lot of people forget, though, too, is Washington fell off the map there for a little bit, like in the mid-2000s, late 2000s. But Washington, though, perennially was Rose Bowl favorites. Yeah, they were Rose Bowl favorites to get to the Pasadena. For a while there. Yeah, but it's I don't want to say a resurgence, but they are back to where, Don James and all them had them back in the day. So
yeah. So, it'll be interesting. I think that, it's just going to come down to a couple of big plays and the fact that these guys are kids and they're going to make some mistakes, and whoever makes the least amount of mistakes potentially is going to win the game. But it's a close game. I can't bet against Washington.
No, they've won, 11 in a row, one score. It's amazing. They just know how to win.
And they have the best quarterback, so.
Right.
That's usually what it comes down to is quarterbacking and the defense. quarterbacks making big plays. So we'll see, but I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks, Husky Dan.
Thanks,
Good luck.
All right, it's 7:30. We got to get a break in here because Jake Wimberly's got to join us coming up next. We got to talk about what Lane.
Speaking of the portal.
Yeah, well, what has Lane Kiffin done? What is it going to do?
Is he even done? Probably not.
Probably not. What is he going to do? And where's Mississippi State at, and where's basketball at? Jake Wimberly will fill us in next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy to overcast sky this afternoon. Temperatures are only going to climb into the mid-40s. The occasional rain shower is possible across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Looks like this activity is probably going to end up being more scattered in nature. I really don't foresee us talking about a lot of widespread rain across the Tennessee Valley. Temperatures drop into the lower 30s as we head into the overnight, early into your Thursday morning. A mostly sunny sky on Thursday afternoon, though it is going to be on the cooler end of the spectrum. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 40s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
They may still be working to clear that wreck on the Parkway at Maston Lake. That one had an injury involved. Got one at the Parkway in Drake now. Don't have a direction reported yet. No injury reported. And we had one in the 100 block of Amberwood. That's north of Harvest Road. That one turned out to be a no injury. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Injuries at work happen all the time in Alabama. So do motor vehicle and slip and fall accidents. If you're hurt at work or injured in an accident, I want you to call my good friends at Pond Lehocky Giordano. That's Pond Lehocky, Alabama's injury law firm. They got your back just like they've got mine. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
You don't have to go somewhere else just so you can go somewhere new. Plan your next vacation with Huntsville International Airport and Breeze Airways. Enjoy friendly, convenient, nonstop travel to some of the most exciting destinations in the U.S., including the home of iconic casinos, world-class shows, dining, and entertainment. Las Vegas. With flights starting as low as just $79, Breeze has got you covered with easy, breezy, nonstop flights to Las Vegas. Book nonstop to Las Vegas now at flybreeze.com.
At Bryant Bank, we recognize your time is valuable, and easy, secure access to your finances is essential. That's why we provide the financial tools you need to manage your money on the go and make life a bit easier. At Bryant Bank, we're here to help with instant debit cards, Apple Pay, person-to-person payments, and more. Bryant bankers want to show you how beneficial our digital banking services can be. Learn more at bryantbank.com. Bryant Bank. Live legendary. Member FDIC.
The End Zone Sports Bar has done it again. This time, they're bringing their jumbo wings, handcrafted burgers, Tex-Mex, and New York-style pizza to the Midtown District with their new location on McMurtry Drive Northwest opposite the Target Plaza. Tuesdays at the End Zone means half-price burgers, and Wednesday is $1 jumbo wings all day long. The End Zone also features Sunday ticket for all your NFL viewing. The newest End Zone Sports Bar in the Midtown District on McMurtry near the Target Plaza. Get in the End Zone.
Hi, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Join us every week for Alabama football right here.
Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
There you go. 7:34. Welcome back on a Wednesday morning. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. And we talked about the transfer portal. We talked about the windows opening and closing, when they're going to open and when they close for everybody. And there have been some very active teams when it comes to the transfer portal so far. One of those really is the Ole Miss Rebels. You look at what Colorado and Deion Sanders has done through the portal, and then you look at what Ole Miss has done through the portal. Lane Kiffin has retooled not only his roster but his defense via the transfer portal.
No, he's signed the top portal class in the country, and he may not even be done. I mean, we'll see. what happens with Evan Stewart. I know Ole Miss has been mentioned as a team of heavy interest, but certainly Lane Kiffin coming off of a record for Ole Miss now. A couple years ago, injuries derailed them in the Sugar Bowl. They weren't able to win that 11th game, but they did this time. No doubt about it, getting that big bowl win to cap off, a really good season for the Rebels. And now with how aggressive they've been in the transfer portal, and I mean, Lane Kiffin, it's interesting. He'll in one breath he'll tell you that the system's broken, it's got to be fixed, but in the next breath he's the most aggressive guy in the transfer portal because he understands that he can get a lot of great talent. You can recruit the high school ranks, but he can get experienced players. They've got a very aggressive collective there over in Oxford, and on paper they've got a really good football team. So we'll see what happens, but we're going to talk about that and more. He's the host of the Afternoon Drive from 3 to 6 on ESPN 105.9 in Jackson, Mississippi, and that is Jake Wimberly. We want to wish him a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as we are going to catch up with him for a few minutes now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jake, good morning.
Guys, Happy New Year. How's everything going?
Doing well. Okay. It's been hard for me to keep up with, but certainly Ole Miss has been very, very aggressive in the portal, even during preparation for their bowl victory. But talk about Lane Kiffin and this roster heading into next year. And a lot of it is roster retention, too. Ole Miss has not lost any big pieces into the portal.
Yeah, and Drew, you're absolutely right. I mean, Lane Kiffin in one breath, he'll say, man, I can't stand this. It needs reform. And I think he absolutely means this.
I think he does, yeah.
And then he turns around, and then he's the most aggressive and the best one so far, at least this year, to take advantage of it. And this is a football coach that has embraced this system since day one. Framing up, come to the SIP short, obviously for the state of Mississippi, and really kind of saying, hey, look, you can come play here. And he has had guys like a lot of teams, but maybe even a little more so, that have come in and had immense success in his offense, and obviously now defensively, and he's done a great job. That collective, the Grove Collective, has done a great job raising money and really kind of setting out a plan on, and Lane Kiffin talked about it, after losing to Georgia and Alabama this past year. He said, hey, look, we just don't have the dudes yet to play with those guys. We got to go find those guys. Now, they're never going to have the roster that Alabama has. They're never going to have the roster that Georgia has. But I think we see now with Washington and a lesser extent Michigan, that you can retool your team. You can find the pieces in this new playoff era that you could make a run, in this expanded playoff. And I will tell you this emphatically, just already in the last week, this will be the most anticipated season for Ole Miss football in this state since Eli Manning's senior year.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, agree with that. They finish it off with a Peach Bowl win. They're 11-2, and even after that, you got a sense, and listening to Lane Kiffin in his words post-game, that the Rebels weren't done yet via the transfer portal.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple more guys that they're going to go get, and I think for them, look at the new SEC and say, okay, look, Ole Miss can play football offensively. Lane Kiffin is as good as anybody on Saturdays or whenever they play. As far as calling plays and in-game stuff. Defensively, they've made some improvements, and I think now it's about getting a guy like Evan Stewart and continuing to improve that defense and be just enough defensively and let the Ole Miss offense, kind of take care of the rest. And again, I think for Ole Miss, it's trying to get into that 12-team playoff in year one.
Yeah, and with that roster, I know you talked about maybe not being as good as Alabama and Georgia, but you would think, based upon what you've seen with power rankings and if the field had, what had happened this year and everything like that, and now Ole Miss's roster is going to be even better, that they have a legit shot to get in the top 12.
They do, and we kind of chalked through this yesterday. But I try to caution Ole Miss fans that this isn't going to be a slam dunk deal. That you can just say, hey, look, we finished 12th in the playoff rankings this year, or 9th, or 10th, or 11th, and we're in. We forget this. Remember, it's 5 plus 7. So you gotta you gotta equate for the Big 12 champion this year. That likely would have been Arizona in the new 2024 run. Liberty would have got a playoff spot, being the winner of Conference USA. If Notre Dame gets to 10 wins next year, they're likely going to get a spot. So in an SEC where Alabama's not going anywhere, Georgia's not going anywhere, and Texas, It's, how many teams do the SEC get? Will they get 4? Will they get 5? Will they get 3? I still think it's going to be razor thin, and let's not forget about what Missouri did this past year as well.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
a good point.
Got to forget. But now though, does this put pressure? I mean, he's gone out. The collective has done their part. They've got the names. I mean, you look at Walter Nolan. I mean, you look at the names that are coming to Oxford. They're big names. Does the pressure now go on to Lane Kiffin to produce that playoff spot?
Yeah, I think there is pressure definitely there. I mean, when and that's the thing with the collectives, and we all know this, right? I mean, as a booster or a follower of a program, it can be any program: Auburn, Alabama, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Again, I've always said this since we started this. There's 3 types of donors. There's the donor that gives to the school that they like or the school they graduated to. There's the donors that give to, their club level, the Rebel Club, the Bulldog Club, the Tide Foundation, or whatever it may be. And they can see that, return on investment. With this, you better do it now, because if you don't have that return, then, we're not assured that you're going to get that same type of money annually to get these types of players.
Well, and I will say this. I think the biggest area, Ole Miss was good offensively this year. They've been good every year under Lane Kiffin, but they had to get better on defense, and especially up front, because I think that's why they couldn't beat Georgia and Alabama.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, the line of scrimmage play, is different, and we know that with Georgia and Alabama. And you look at what Texas has been able to do defensively on the defensive front 7 and their offensive front, and you go down to Michigan, what they were able to accomplish this past weekend. They're going to have to play better line of scrimmage football in those bigger games because, I mean, again, we'll see. Talking about, just quickly Monday night, I mean, I think that's going to be the difference in Michigan and Washington is the front 7 for Michigan. So, they're going to have to play better, and I think that's why you see the kind of, urgency to get somebody like a Nolan and to continue to try to build those pieces along the offensive and defensive front.
We mentioned the retention, keeping guys there in Oxford. Is there none bigger than keeping Jackson Dart?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously Walker Howard is there, but how ready is he? We just don't know. And when you get a guy, and you guys know this, when you start having a quarterback in any league that's played upwards of 20, now 30 ball games, I mean that is big. I mean, and you just look again. Let's go back to Washington. How big Michael Penix coming back was for Washington, for them to be able to, and Bo Nix over at Oregon. To have that experience at quarterback, I think, is paramount, and Jackson Dart will come into this year, along with Jalen Milroe and a few more, as one of the top quarterbacks in the league.
Well, and again, now let's switch gears to Ole Miss. It's going to be interesting because now Will Rogers is going to follow Michael Penix at Washington. So a lot of people are going to be interested to see how that goes. Penix reinvented himself. Mississippi State now with Jeff Lebby, he seems to have his coaching staff in place. No question about that. How is the roster taking shape for the guys in Starkville?
Well, I think for the time that Jeff Lebby has had, which has not been a whole lot of time, I think he's done a great job. And one of the biggest keys for that staff was to keep Chad Bumpus, who obviously played at Mississippi State under Dan Mullen, one of the more decorated wide receivers in Mississippi State history, to be able to grab some guys, wide receivers here in the state of Mississippi, some skill set guys, a couple quarterbacks, transfer from Baylor, another kid from New Jersey. So, you guys saw this team. I mean, and this team was not good, and they lacked serious talent on both sides of the ball. So I think Jeff Lebby has really done a good job of getting some good pieces and laid a good foundation with high school recruiting here in the state of Mississippi. They still got a long way to go, but I think what he has started to do is the right step forward for this program.
So with it being that bad, is he going to get time? Is Jeff Lebby going to get time to build this and turn this around?
I think they got to give him time, though.
I know, but in today's college football world, right? I mean, it's a question that we've seen come up.
I know Zach was 1 year, but that was unusual circumstances.
Right. Yeah, and look, those questions are legitimate. Like, how much time do the coaches get now? I mean, I think it just depends, but I think, yes, he will get that time. Is that time 2 years? Is it 3 years? But I think what we know about Jeff Lebby, a lot like we know about Lane Kiffin and some of these other coaches, is he can coach offense. That's not a problem for him and for the staff that he'll put together. There'll be a more explosive offense. There'll be a funner offense to watch, more pleasing to the eye and the season ticket holder. It's just what does the defensive side of the ball look like? How quickly can they pull this together? And I think for them, it's the case where you set up a campaign and say, hey, look, we got to get back to bowl eligibility. And I know that's another story for another day. Is how important are the bowls now? What does that really mean? But I think just to hang your hat and say, hey, yeah, we had a winning season. We got back to postseason play. I think in year one for Jeff Levy, if they can get to 6 wins, I think that's a plus for him in year one.
And we're talking to Jake Wimberly of ESPN 105.9 Jackson, Mississippi. Okay, we're going to switch gears real quick because it's starting this weekend. Scott asked this question, and we were talking about it as the show started. What do we make of Ole Miss and Mississippi State basketball-wise? Neither one of them played the strongest out-of-conference schedules. Are they contenders or pretenders? What are we thinking?
Boy, I tell you what, it's going to be a fun league to watch, and I'm excited about it, and I know you guys are too. I think Ole Miss, when you look at the length and the athleticism of that roster, and I think a win against Memphis, that's a big win that they got several weeks ago, early December. I think that they are legitimately, could be a contender. And the same for Mississippi State. I mean, they're going to play really good defense. They're getting healthy, getting some players back. Chris Jans has done a really good job with that program, bringing in some new talent, some young talent. Yes, to answer your question, I think both are going to be hard outs in the Southeastern Conference. Now, does that mean that they're going to compete for the title? Probably not, but I think that both teams could be right there on the bubble for NCAA bids this year.
Wow.
There you go. I mean, that would be big. And I really liked the Chris Beard hire anyway. I thought it was as good as Ole Miss could have done. And, I mean, this is a guy that played for a national championship. And timing is everything. Some things happened at Texas, but I thought Ole Miss took advantage of that. And we'll see. And he hired Wes Flanagan. They've got Alan Flanagan as part of that roster. They were aggressive, once again, transfer portal-wise. But it's going to be interesting for their Ole Miss and Mississippi State on the hard court as well. Well, Jake, we appreciate it. Great intel, and let everybody know how to connect with you.
Yeah, just check us out. We're at thezone1059.com, 3 to 6 every day. Moving through the week, we'll hit all the high stuff, NFL, obviously high school here in the state of Mississippi, and a lot of transfer portal college football. And, of course, you can always find me on X at Jake Flem. Guys, I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks so much.
Let's get a break in.
That was interesting, though, about the basketball-wise.
He thinks both of them could be in
tournament.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, interesting to see what Ole Miss does on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's a measuring stick game. Let's get a break in, shall we? When we come back, going to wrap up Hour 1. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Looks like they have cleared that accident in the 100 block of Amberwood. Still may be working on one southbound on the Parkway at Maston Lake. That one had an injury. And Parkway and Drake, I don't have a direction reported. That one was reported, though, as a no injury. Beginner to fitness fanatic. The YMCA has everything you need and free child care. Members enjoy over 200 group classes, swimming pools, and awesome fitness equipment. The Y, Huntsville, and Madison. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff, Popeye's Skywatch Traffic Center.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Stan McDonald. Stan, tell everybody why you're the best damn dirt lawyer in North Alabama.
Yes, Wes, at Jacob Title and the Stanton Law Firm. You know I'm a dirt lawyer, and a lot of our friends know that, which means we specialize in real estate. Now, if you own real estate or you're buying it or you're selling it, you need to do a closing, but a lot of times there's legal issues associated with that. We're a great group to talk to. My son, Lewis McDonald, heads our commercial closing division, And we approach your real estate needs very seriously. We seek to be the premier real estate closing company in North Alabama. And we do it in such a way it shows that we're experienced, we're for your success. We like to handle your real estate needs the same way Coach Dan Reeves used to say, never let them see you sweat. And that's going to be to your benefit, too, when you visit us at Jacob Title and the Stanton Law Firm. Our website online is jacobtitle.com.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Welcome back and to wrap up hour one here. I know we touched on it a little bit too there in the middle of the first half of the show. But Holman Wiggins is on his way to Texas A&M. Does that do anything? Does that do anything to the wide receiver recruits that are still on the board?
No, this is the way I looked at it. People were asking me about Ryan Williams from, and that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
From Saraland, who's committed to Alabama. I don't think so, because if he were that important, and I'm not discounting what he did at Alabama. I think Holman Williams was a really solid coach. He was the longest tenured assistant. He helped, Devontae Smith win the Heisman, Waddle, Smith, all those guys, Ruggs, become first-round draft choices. They had a really good run. Mechie, Jameson Williams out of the transfer portal. But I think if it were that important, he would have been retained. And I think a couple of years ago, I was told Texas came hard after Wiggins when Sark was putting together his staff. Because he took Jeff Banks, he took a few guys with him, including our guy from Boaz, who AJ Milwee, who was going to go with the champion of life, Butch Jones. He was going to be the OC at Arkansas State. But
I'm just looking at this Grambling women's basketball score.
Yeah, so
159-18.
Lord, that reminds me of the Butler Lady Rebels back in the day. But anyway,
159-18. Okay.
Good grief. But no, I just think overall, if it was that important, I think Holman Wiggins would have been retained.
Right.
But he's going to work for Mike Elko and his first staff. And like I said, I'll be interested to see where Trooper Taylor fits in, because Trooper's background has been a lot of wide receivers. Maybe he's going to coach tight ends. But you were told he was going to be a part of the staff. We saw Wesley McGriff, the crime dog. He left Auburn. We're going to talk to Brian Matthews in a few minutes. He left Auburn this week, a few days ago, after their bowl game, to coach in the defensive backfield for Texas A&M. But Auburn countered and went and hired Charles Kelly away from Coach Prime, and Charles got out of that dumpster fire.
I think he was wanting to get out of there as well.
I would. They suck. I don't care how many guys they bring out of the portal and how many commercials they do and how many we keep receipts and all this stuff. The only receipts I see are return receipts, because they get the hell beat out of them.
So I was going to bring that up, and I'm glad you brought up Auburn, because I was going to ask this question here. Yeah, yesterday we touched a little bit on it, on the state of college football, because a lot of college football coaches after their bowl games were asked about it. Hugh Freeze said something very interesting, and Nick Saban kind of said the same thing too when he was getting ready for the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And that was, and I know Auburn fans were grinding their teeth in watching the Music City Bowl because of Auburn's performance.
Yeah, they didn't play well.
They didn't play well. Hugh Freeze, after the game, said, well, you know what? I didn't really get that involved in the game plan until a few days before the game because I was busy recruiting. We were busy doing the recruiting stuff. Nick Saban even said before the Rose Bowl that these 2 weeks after the SEC championship game, they were just bombarded with recruiting, and they haven't had a lot of time to, it's hard to do the recruiting and get the game plan and get everything ready to go. Should Auburn fans be worried about that? When Hugh Freeze said that, it was like Auburn fans like, oh my gosh, how can you not be a part of the game plan? Is that more of what we need to change with college football in a state of college football? Or is that a thing where Auburn fans should really be grinding their teeth even more because of what he said.
Well, I've said this before. I do think the transfer portal windows need to be adjusted. I mean, you look, the early signing period, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to get that hay in the barn and everything. That you're not going to be able to adjust that much. But the transfer portal, I do think it needs to be adjusted because they're on top of one another.
Right.
Okay. But I will say this, and I'll ask Brian this. Brian's very frank with us. We'll talk with him in a few minutes. But
Right.
I don't think that was really wise words used by Hugh Freeze. And he's been very transparent with the media, especially since he's come to Auburn, even when he was at Ole Miss. I don't think he should have just come out and said, well, I didn't have much to do with the game plan. He kind of threw his staff under the bus and all the players under the bus. I don't think he should have done that.
Right.
I think that was a little bit unwise the way he phrased that because they just didn't play very well.
Made him sound like he wasn't even
like he didn't care.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Okay, in other words, you're trying to whoever these seniors that you inherited, and they brought a lot of guys from the portal as well. Look, you're trying to win their last game. You're trying to win a game in Nashville. It's a spot where a lot of Auburn fans can make the trip. Now it's cold, but again, it's a nice city. It's a pretty good bowl game, and you were trying not to have 3 straight losing seasons. Auburn hadn't had that since the 70s. Okay. But they ended up with a loss. They didn't play very well. And then for him to say that in the post game, I didn't think was a good look. I mean, I just thought, wow. I mean, that's kind of – I mean, that does make you raise some antennas there a little bit.
And another thing that we can ask Brian Matthews on is this. Caden Salter.
Yeah, this was a very much a antenna raising moment yesterday.
Caden Salter, the Liberty quarterback, who by the way, his helmet doesn't fit his head. Did you see that?
I didn't see this.
I got to show you the picture of him wearing his Liberty helmet in the Fiesta Bowl. It's interesting. Has entered the transfer portal.
Right.
And Caden Salter was there.
He was brought there by
Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
Look, okay, so this is the helmet that Caden Salter wore in the Fiesta Bowl.
The Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't look right.
Looks a little funny.
It does, doesn't it?
I mean, they got off to a good start. They scored on the first possession, and then it was all downhill.
Yeah. Bo Nix.
Yeah, he shredded him a little bit.
Bo Nix went to work, and Oregon went to work, by the way. But yes, Caden Salter is in the transfer portal. And, I mean, Hugh Freeze stuck with Peyton Thorne.
He did.
But then he's also come out and said they're still actively looking in the portal. So is
well, Robbie Ashford had already gone into the portal. He wasn't with the team,
right?
And then they played Holden Garner in the game,
and
so now a guy he recruited is in the transfer portal. Now the word was from Jason Caldwell they didn't look like they were going to get into the quarterback business, but did something change in the aftermath of the bowl performance? And now who's in the portal?
Brian Matthews can step in and fill us in on everything we want to know about that, including Hugh Freeze's remarks. We'll dissect it all with Brian Matthews.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Unlike other credit cards that decline sports betting transactions or treat them as a cash advance, the GBank Visa Signature Card can load directly to your favorite sportsbook apps. G.bank/VSiN.
College hoops tonight, 2 AP Top 25 matchups with number 16 Clemson on the road at Miami. The Hurricanes are 10-2. The Tigers 11-1 1. Both teams are 1-0 in the ACC right now. Clemson's a 1.5-point favorite. 11-2 Providence, 2-0 in the Big East. Home tonight, favored by 6.5 against Seton Hall. They're 8-5, 1-1 in the conference. The NFL regular season wraps up this weekend with a number of playoff spots still on the line. The AFC South still wide open with Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Houston tied at 9-7. The NFC South up for grabs with Tampa and New Orleans tied at 8-8. The Niners are a plus 225 favorite to win the Super Bowl. Get the latest lines and more at vsin.com.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, welcome back. Hour 2 of Talking Ball. Yeah, so you know what? The last national championship game that we went to, it was freezing ass cold. Freezing ass cold.
No, it was as cold as anything I've ever experienced in my life.
We were just talking about that if Alabama had prevailed, Houston's weather would have been as cold as Indianapolis. We wouldn't have thought. So I don't know why we started thinking about how cold it was there. Anyway, we got more time to reflect on that. Brian Matthews is going to be busy because he's going to have to keep his eye on the transfer portal. He's got to keep an eye on Auburn basketball because they played last night, and then they're getting conference play rolling against Arkansas. Got to keep an eye on the transfer portal. Got to keep an eye on this. And then he's got to try to dissect what Hugh Freeze really meant about not putting together a game plan.
Plus, he's a huge, part of covering Auburn baseball for AuburnSports.com, part of the Rivals Network. And I just saw an anniversary video the other day, and it's hard to believe that it's been 8 years since Butch Thompson was hired at Auburn. It shows you how quickly time flies. Jay Jacobs introduced him. He was a turbulent time, for Auburn baseball, but it's turned out to be the best hire since Hal Baird, as Auburn has gone to 2 College World Series during that time period. And we're going to talk to our good friend Brian Matthews, part of AuburnSports.com and Rivals, at BMATAU on Twitter and Threads, or I should say X, I'm sorry. But we wish Brian a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're good. Now, is that kind of hard to believe? I know we're fixing to delve into basketball and of course, football, but 8 years for Butch Thompson.
Yep, 10 years for Bruce Pearl. I know Jay Jacobs takes a lot of heat, I think, from Auburn fans, but those were 2 of the best hires in Auburn history for those 2 sports. So, and Butch has done a great job. I'm looking forward to getting out there at Plains Park here in a couple more months.
Yeah.
Or another month, I guess,
Yeah, boy, between
hopefully
then,
be warmer.
Yeah, by then, by then the SEC portion of the basketball season will be in the heat of it. That gets started on Saturday. Auburn with a trip to Arkansas, coming off a win last night against Penn.
And getting into the top 25.
Yeah, 11-2, finishing up non-conference play. That trip to Arkansas is going to be electric, I would imagine. Those are 2 teams I don't think that necessarily like each other a whole lot, and Arkansas is always a really tough place to play. So looking forward. I won't be there, of course, but looking forward to watching that game and covering it. Seeing how the Tigers perform up there in Arkansas.
I don't think anybody likes Ernest T. Bass, a.k.a. Eric Musselman. I haven't met anybody but Arkansas fans who like the dude.
Yeah, well, that's probably true, yeah.
Well, and so before we delve into football, what has impressed you the most in pre-conference from an Auburn basketball perspective?
Well, I like how much they've improved already, and I still think they've got room to get better. I like how this team plays really unselfish. You can see every night their assist-to-turnover ratio is usually just eye-popping. They do a great job just finding whoever's hot and feeding that person the ball. Last night it was Janai Broome again, of course, but Denver Jones stepped up. Chad Baker Mazzara and had a great game off the bench along with Katie Johnson. So, just a lot of hot hands last night again. And, I like their depth. I think this is a team that is not going to, wear down as the season goes on because they're able to play so many different players and limit the minutes every night and still be really successful.
I'll say this, the SEC season is going to be a grind. I know Kentucky's playing well right now. They may be the forefront, and then maybe Tennessee. But I tell you what, behind those two, Auburn can find a home in there somewhere.
I agree. I think it's going to be a really competitive season in the SEC. I wouldn't rule out Auburn or another school stepping up and taking the title away from a Kentucky or Tennessee who are playing really good right now, of course. I think it's fairly wide open, and looking forward to it. I think this is a big opening game for Auburn. You got to steal some on the road, and Arkansas is one that would be an absolute steal if Auburn could go up there and win that game.
Yeah, no question about it. Now let's turn to football, and we kind of teased this going into the break, into the second hour. But look, we've talked to Jason Caldwell. We've talked to people around the program. We're now talking with you. It looked as though going into the Music City Bowl that Auburn was not going to be in the quarterback business. It looked like Peyton Thorne and we heard Hugh Freeze talk about it around on the 20th when signing day. They needed to improve the offensive line and especially the playmakers at the skill positions for Auburn and for them to be better offensively. But they didn't play well at all in the Music City Bowl. Thorne struggled. We saw Holden Garner come in, and of course we know Robbie Ashford's in the transfer portal. But now the very antenna-raising Caden Salter goes into the transfer portal. Is this a situation where Auburn may change their minds and go into the quarterback business?
I think they have changed their mind if they can find the right guy. And it was just about 2 weeks ago or so that, they gave the seal of approval to Peyton Thorne, and we're going to build a team around him. But, I think that changed after the ball game, certainly. And Hank Brown, I think, is going to get an opportunity.
Oh, yeah, I should have mentioned him. I apologize. He did play pretty well. He played in the bowl game as well. I apologize for that.
Yeah, he came in last, I think it was 8 minutes or so, and really performed well. But you got to keep that in perspective of what was going on in the game, right? It wasn't really a competitive portion of the game necessarily. But then again, he did perform really well, and I think he earned the opportunity to certainly be in the mix for that starting job in the spring. But, yeah, I do think Auburn is going to look at quarterbacks. I do think Caden, the kid from Liberty who just jumped to the portal yesterday, I believe, I think he'd certainly be a candidate there. I think he originally signed with Tennessee.
Yes, he did.
Transferred to Liberty, put up some incredible numbers throwing and running, and certainly Hugh Freeze is going to have a relationship and know plenty about him on and off the field. So I think he's certainly one to Caden Salter is certainly one to keep an eye on.
And then Hugh Freeze also, Brian, what do you take away from his comments after the Music City Bowl, saying that he spent a lot of time recruiting and he wasn't hands-on with the game plan?
Didn't like the game plan.
Going in, not until about the final week or the final few days going into the Music City Bowl.
Yeah, that's not the first time that's come up. It's come up several times this year. When he was hired, he made the decision, I'm going to hire an offensive coordinator, a veteran guy. I'm going to try to turn the offense over to him so I can recruit. And I think that decision was a good decision because Auburn ended up signing the number 8 class in the country. And I could get even better if they could flip Ryan Williams. Of course, we'll see how that goes. But I don't think he's been satisfied all season with how the offense has been run. I don't think him and Philip Montgomery are necessarily on the same page when it comes to running offense. And I just don't think this is a great fit. So I'd be surprised if there aren't some changes here on Auburn's coaching staff in the coming days and weeks.
Wow. That's very interesting. So I was going to ask you about that. So you're telling us you think that potentially Philip Montgomery won't return?
Yeah, I think that's very possible. I don't know that for certain yet.
Right.
And I think there could be some other changes on the staff. We'll see. Both Philip and Ron Roberts, I believe it was 3-year deals they signed. I think that's right. And so that would cost money to buy them out if he wanted to make changes at the coordinator positions. There's a process to everything, so we'll see how things go.
Well, they did add Charles Kelly to the mix from Colorado.
McGriff,
I mean, what do we read into that?
Well, Charles Kelly is a very accomplished defensive coordinator, and
Auburn graduate too.
Yep, and also a very good recruiter.
He is good recruiter.
I think, his role has not been formally, defined yet, and we'll see. Like I said, I think there's going to be more changes in Auburn's staff here in the coming days and weeks.
And he's a secondary guy, and Wesley McGriff has left to go to Texas A&M.
Yeah, he could just step in the secondary, but I think there's a possibility some other things can happen too.
So that's a very interesting tidbit there with Charles Kelly, because he's been a defensive coordinator at Florida State. He was the defensive coordinator at Colorado. He worked for Nick Saban in the secondary. So he's a very experienced guy, right? We've heard Charles Kelly's name come up in searches before in Auburn coaching staffs.
Every single defensive coordinator search that I've covered, I think over the last 2 decades, I've included Charles Kelly on the watch list or whatever, just because. But yes, he's been a guy that I think a string of Auburn coaches have at least talked to or discussed or met with about potentially returning to Auburn as an assistant or coordinator.
And now I know the transfer portal window has closed. But as Scott said this morning, midnight was the deadline to get in. We talked about Caden Salter. Is there another position in your mind where Auburn is still trying to address going into spring practice?
Yeah, and I think I could be wrong on this because it seems like the rule changes every year. But I think there's a stagger with the transfer portal closing, depending on when your bowl game was.
Okay.
Yeah,
so somebody, I saw somewhere that Auburn's was January 4th.
4th, okay.
So I could be wrong there. I don't know that specifically. I need to check on that.
No, it is. Yeah, they get that 5-day or something after their bowl game thing. So yeah, I think it's January 4th.
I believe that's right. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 more players from Auburn jump in there. We'll see. Brian Petit was the latest, I believe. But I think Auburn really needs a defensive tackle that can come in and start right away. Marcus Harris has declared for the draft. They don't really have necessarily a proven backup. DJ Reed, who signed with Auburn out of Columbus in last year's class, certainly is a young guy to watch, but I don't think he's ready to be a starter in the SEC yet. And I don't think Gage Keys, who they signed out of Kansas, is a starter type. I think he's a rotational player there. So I think that could be a big pickup if they can find the right guy. I think they'd love to find a left tackle on offense and be able to move Dylan Wade inside the guard to really solidify that offensive line going into next year. That could be a big piece. And, if you just look at some of the holes on the team, the secondary, could certainly use some help from the transfer portal. They'd love another big play wide receiver if one's available, although they can be very careful, with their recruitment of Ryan Williams and not disrupt that in any way.
Right.
And, maybe some different pieces here and there. But I think quarterback and defensive tackle and left tackle on offense are probably the 3 biggest areas to keep an eye on.
Very interesting. Always good tidbits from Brian Matthews, especially about the coaching staff. And there could be changes in the coming days. And then an undetermined role thus far. We do know Charles Kelly is coming to the staff, but we don't know the role yet with Auburn. So very interesting, and we're definitely going to be following and tracking all of that. And, of course, Auburn basketball starting on the road is they are headed to Arkansas to play Ernest T. Bass and Eric Musselman. So that's going to be a very interesting opening for Auburn on the road to see if they can steal a road game. Anytime you steal road games in the SEC, Brian, in this league, it's huge.
Yep, against any team really, and Arkansas would be a big fish to do it too. And I think a lot of people will be rooting for Auburn in that one. We'll see.
I would think so, no question about that. Well, Brian, we appreciate it. Happy New Year to you, and let everybody know how to follow your work.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody out there. And they can check us out at auburnsports.com, and they can follow me on Twitter/X and Threads at BMATAU.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate it, guys.
Let's get a break in, shall we?
That's interesting, though, that, we could see even both coordinators. He was keeping about
that?
Ron Roberts and Philip Montgomery.
You got a sense, though, as the season went along,
Philip Montgomery,
that Hugh
yes,
Freeze
but I
and
wasn't
them,
sure about Ron
on
Roberts.
The same page offensively.
Yeah, right.
Because Hugh even said, I think it was
I think
before
he wanted
the
to take a more active role as a play caller.
Right. Wasn't it before I forget what game it was, where he came out and said, I took more of an active role in this game plan. I took more of an
when they
active
struggled
role.
against Texas A&M especially.
Yeah,
it was bad.
Yeah.
Anytime you lose a dirt neck, it's bad.
Well, no one's going to lose to him next year.
Nope, just threw those in the trash yesterday. No need to need them no more. Appreciate people sending it.
Oh, let's get a break in, shall we? More Talking Ball when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
We should be all clear accident-wise now. Haven't picked up anything new. Last reported wreck was Parkway and Drake. I think it's completely out of the way now, though. You be careful on your trip in. Put some extra room in there so you got somewhere to go if something goes wrong around you. You get 2 pieces of the hand-breaded, juicy, tender signature chicken and a buttermilk biscuit for $4.99 at Popeyes. University and Jordan, 72 in Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at GenSuperstore.com.
The best place to get 50s diner-style homemade delectables is Bubby's Diner. Located at 8412 Whitesburg Drive Southeast, try their all-new expanded breakfast menu with homemade waffles, omelets, and shrimp and grits. With 3 generations of experience, Chris Bubby Belcher has the best burgers in town. Don't forget to leave without a homemade pie or a hand-spun milkshake. Give Bubby's a call today at 256-513-8080. Bubby's Diner, home of the donut burger.
Work injuries happen in Alabama all the time, whether it's an accident at work, getting injured, lifting heavy objects, hurting your hands on a machine, or just performing the same movement over and over until your body breaks down. But when it happens, there's only one law firm to call in Alabama. That's Pond, Lehocky, Giordano. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Oh, Bubby's Diner, baby. It's the gift that keeps on giving year-round, Clark.
Well, we had great breakfast over there the other day.
Oh, we sure did. The French toast, the omelet.
You ordered. We almost had we had to almost get another table.
But she brought me the grits. I didn't even order the grits.
I know. She brought you a bunch of stuff, and you didn't order 2 or 3 of it.
She brought me the grits and the sausage gravy, and I didn't order either. But she brought them. She didn't bring me any biscuits for the gravy, so that kind of defeated the purpose.
Right.
But still, it was a good time.
I had
there.
a blueberry waffle.
How was the blueberry waffle?
It was good. I've had it a couple of times.
All right.
I know you had the French toast, which I love. So
I did, and it was very good. It was good French toast. Hey, raise your hands if you saw this one coming.
Here we go.
And there's going to be a lot of hands raised in the air. Brock Bowers is declared for the NFL.
I'm just shocked.
I know you're watching the lowriders right now.
I know. Watching Snoop Dogg.
Anyway, Brock Bowers has declared for the NFL draft. Did you not see that one coming?
I mean, come on. He didn't even play in the bowl game. Everybody knew he was gone. You know, Kirby knew he was gone. Pretty much his last game was against Alabama. He wasn't 100%. So he's going to try to get himself fully healthy for the NFL draft and to be a top 10 pick.
6'4", 240 pounds is Brock Bowers.
Speed, body control, hands, ability to also block, uncommon work ethic. I just think he's a stud. I think he probably should even go in the top 5. But
I was going to say, what made his Georgia football career so special?
I mean, just his ability as a playmaker from day one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he just had he was mature beyond his years, and you never know. That's what I'm saying with freshmen and because again, Brock Bowers, it turned out, but he was not rated a 5-star coming out of high school. Nobody knew until he got there. And I started hearing about him in the middle of his freshman year, like, who the hell is this? Like, he wasn't one of these guys that was all hyped up. You know what I'm saying? Right. And, you know, I was just like, man, this guy is a freakazoid. And then you watch him play, and it's unreal. I mean, you know.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just watching this. California has lifted the ban on lowriders.
Uh-oh.
That's why it's on the TV. I'm sorry. I don't have no idea why they had a ban on it to begin with, but now they don't
Brings
have a ban.
Brings back memories. One of the best movies of my childhood, Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
I mean,
now they have lifted the ban on low riders.
Yep. Here we go.
Oh boy.
Why don't they fix the border instead of worrying about low riding cars? For our political moment of the show.
There it is. Hey, this just came out a minute ago. And Bo Nix is not done playing football in the state of Alabama.
Oh, really?
No, Bo Nix has
He's going to the Senior Bowl, isn't he?
Bo Nix has officially accepted. And the Senior Bowl just released this just a minute ago, that Bo Nix has accepted his invitation to the 2024 Reese's Senior Bowl. So he is coming back to the state of Alabama to play one more football game.
I mean, that means he'll be there for a week trying to improve his draft stock, and I think he's going to get an opportunity. He had one hell of a career.
Where do you think a guy like Bo Nix could fall to?
Well, you know, I look, man, if Will Levis is a second-round pick, and I never thought he was that productive in college,
right?
Then I think Bo Nix should at least be a second-round draft choice. He's got mobility. He's played a ton of football. When he got to Oregon, he was supremely productive. I just think he deserves a shot. Him and Penix both are very, very interesting as to where they'll land on all these, because everybody knows Caleb Williams. Everybody's flipping out about Drake May. Those are going to be your two guys that are going to get the most, and then Jaden Daniels and what he did. But the two that are interesting, that are kind of the wild cards, is Bo Nix, to me, and Michael Penix.
So the Senior Bowl is very important. Not the game itself,
but
the week is very going to be very important for Bo Nix.
And I think Bo will do a great job with off-the-field stuff, too. I mean, he's a coach's son. I mean, his father won his third state title this year, won it with Central Phoenix City. He's done a great job with that program. He did a great job rebuilding Scottsboro's program. And he did a great job winning a couple at Pinson Valley.
Right.
And so I just think Patrick Nix is a winner. He was a winner in high school at Etowah. Really good quarterback at Auburn. I know he didn't have a long pro career, but who cares about all that? I just think he's a heck of a coach, and certainly when you're a coach's kid, it gives you a lot of inherent advantages. And I've always thought, I saw Bo play both at Scottsboro and Pinson Valley and thought he was an elite player, and certainly –
you and I still talk about it all the time, that the game that he played against Austin.
Yeah, Asa Martin.
When it was Asa Martin
quarterfinals and playoffs.
Still probably one of the best high school games that I have seen in a long time.
That was the football version of Austin and Huntsville in the Huntsville City Classic in basketball, is what that was.
Trading blows.
Yeah, Ali Frazier.
Yeah. It was. It was probably one of the greatest games, and it was a cool night. I mean, it was a cold night that night, too, but you forgot about it because the football on the field was so good that night.
I mean, Asa was great, but Bo was in a zone and wouldn't be denied. And and then we all talked about it after the game. I remember talking to Jason Caldwell. He was on the sidelines because Asa had signed with Auburn. We knew Bo Nix was going to Auburn, and he was just like, the winner of this game is going to win the state championship. In other words, he really thought that. He was right because Pinson Valley went on and won it. He said, this is the state championship game right now for me in 6A.
I remember that was a good game.
It was a heck of a game.
Now they're talking about fried chicken.
Here we go.
Well, I mean, look, they're talking about fried chicken. Looked good. I'm just saying. Cannot go wrong.
Uh-oh. Here's a developing situation via Matt Zenitz of 24/7 Sports. Has Lincoln Sharman lost his touch? Because I thought Will Howard from Kansas State was definitely going to be headed to USC, and now he is going on a visit to see the other softy of the Big Ten, and that is Ohio State.
Oh, you forgot to say
Ryan Day.
No, it's the Ohio State.
Screw him. I'm not giving him that mantra. It's the University of Alabama. I don't give a crap about the sucks.
Come on, it's the Ohio State University.
Yeah, puke.
No, Lincoln Sharman, he's lost his touch.
I mean, I don't know.
No, there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of people in the college football world that'll say that what has Lincoln Riley accomplished at USC? What has he accomplished? He's underachieved. With the talent that he has had and the talent that he has brought in, he is underachieved at USC.
Yeah, he really
They
has.
had an impressive bowl win this year. They didn't let one slip away. And they had a quarterback throw for 6 touchdowns off the bench that got a start because they didn't have one.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know if this Lincoln doesn't even believe in that kid because Malachi Nelson and his mother's what was it, Gucci purse or whatever the hell he bought her for $3,000 and he showed up in a Ferrari.
Yes.
He's already in the transfer portal too.
Yes, he is.
So I don't know.
You know what? He was out in Pasadena.
He
boarded the Pate jet.
The Pate State material.
He's back in Nashville. Maybe he's in Nashville. Maybe he's in Houston. I don't know because things really get started in Houston on Friday because the teams will arrive. They'll have media day on Saturday.
It's interesting because the national championship game, there's several days to a week of build up for these semifinals.
Right.
Everything is accelerated the national championship game.
It is because remember for the BCS national championship, gosh, I remember we would be out there for 13, 14 days. Yeah. Because you would get out there for the arrival, and then the teams would practice, and they'd do this, and then you'd have one press conference, another press conference, then you'd have a media day, then another press conference, and then another one, and it was like it just went on and on and on and on. I mean, we were out there for 12, 13 days.
Yeah.
Well, now this, I mean, it's fast. I mean, once you play that semifinal, there's no downtime. I mean, you win that game on Monday. You transition to Tuesday, Wednesday. You arrive in Houston on Thursday or Friday. You got media day on Saturday, head coach press conference on Sunday. You play the game on Monday, and bam, it's done. Josh Pate is going through all that. He is doing
laundry. Say that 3 times fast, Scott. You really rattled that off.
He's doing laundry, getting everything redone. Come on. He's probably sent it out and has it all done. He's probably that big.
He's got 15 white T-shirts now.
Yeah, well, he probably has somebody press them for him and pack them and everything else. Josh Pate going to join us when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy to overcast sky this afternoon. Temperatures are only going to climb into the mid-40s. The occasional rain shower is possible across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Looks like this activity is probably going to end up being more scattered in nature. I really don't foresee us talking about a lot of widespread rain across the Tennessee Valley. Temperatures drop into the lower 30s as we head into the overnight, early into your Thursday morning. A mostly sunny sky on Thursday afternoon, though it is going to be on the cooler end of the spectrum. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 40s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Looks like we are all clear now. I don't see anything snag-wise. Just a lot of folks in last-minute dash mode this morning, scrambling, trying to get in on time. If you're in that last-minute group, please be extra careful. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
Southern Fidelity Mortgage. Think of them as a loan for everyone, offering more products than anyone else and the guaranteed lowest rates and costs in town. Of the 2,000 loans that Southern Fidelity Mortgage has pre-approved over the last 10 years, all but one have closed. That's unprecedented in the banking business. For FHA, VA, rural development, and conventional mortgages, for the best mortgage experience in town, it's Southern Fidelity Mortgage.
Call Southern Fidelity Mortgage Company at 256-656-5936.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
This will turn journalism on its ear.
Watch our stream on WZZN TV on Twitch and YouTube.
But you are the greatest hero in American history.
We are 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, welcome back. And welcome back to, I guess, maybe the Central Time Zone, one Josh Pate.
Yes, absolutely. We haven't caught up with him since before Christmas. He's been so busy. We have been as well. We've had a lot going on. His schedule is the most insane in college football. He's going to be headed out to Houston, of course. He was at the granddaddy of them all in the Rose Bowl. And saw the University of Alabama season come to an end. But he is the cool thing about his Once Upon a Saturday tour is he has seen both these teams in person. He's seen Washington. He's seen Michigan. There's going to be nobody more well-versed in this game than, of course, Late Kick Live's host, and that is Josh Pate. Josh, Happy New Year. Hope you had a Merry Christmas, and it's great to connect with you again. Good morning.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. It's a very big deal always to come on with you. Happy New Year. That's one way to tee it up. You could say that I am the most well-versed and uniquely qualified individual to talk about these teams, or alternately, if you wanted to go dark evil Drew for 2024, you could have said this dude was 0-7 picking these teams' games this year. There's no one less versed. There's no one more ill-equipped to cover these teams.
Are you telling me that either Washington or Michigan is praying you don't pick them?
I am telling you, I may just choose to pick the loser instead of picking the winner for the game.
That's funny.
Oh,
That's
wow.
Cool. Well, you were out there front and center for the Rose Bowl.
Line of scrimmage game, my friend.
Yeah, basically what it comes down to, 9 times out of 10 in those matchups. So the first thing that I thought was laughable leading up to it from both sides is any kind of, any fan base or anyone who was trying to convince themselves there was a significant edge for either team. There really wasn't. That's why the line was the way it was. That's why the game played out the way it was. There may have been incremental edges here and there. And then in the aftermath, I always find it funny when someone talks about how they dominated this or dominated that. Well, very rarely is a game dominated when it goes to overtime. That's just been my experience. There were matchups that were won. There were edges that were had. Game played out stylistically how I would expect it to. I think that Michigan, when I was around their coaches and players earlier in the week, they were really adamant. They didn't need to do anything above and beyond what they had been all year, which, as you guys know, is atypical for when someone plays Alabama. Normally, they think what they've done to that point probably isn't going to be quite good enough. They need to go above and beyond. They need to be 120% of themselves. Michigan was convinced their style would work, and their style did give them a good shot to win the game, even in a very flawed performance. Their special teams were horrific the other night, but they did win, and I think that you can choose to look at it one of two ways. You can either look at it in the prism of a game, and you can have a problem with all the ways Alabama found to shoot themselves in the foot, which they did, or you can zoom it out, and you can go back to when you and I were talking in week 2, week 3, week 4, and we could tell ourselves back then, hey, this team's going to have a shot in overtime in a semifinal game. What do you think? Well, we would have been mildly to moderately surprised at that point. We would have been surprised to know they're going to beat Georgia. They're going to go on and have a shot in overtime to get to a national title game. So I don't know. I think in the immediate aftermath, no one's interested in that. I think a month from now, that's the perspective almost everyone will have on it.
Did you have a problem with the final play call for Alabama?
No, not if it's executed the way it is. I think a couple of folks. I think Adam Brenneman. I think Dilfer, or it wasn't Dilfer. He's coaching now. Whoever Scott Van Pelt had on the other night.
Yes.
I think they did a really good job of breaking down really what the play was.
Hasselback.
You watch it on TV. Yeah, that's exactly who it was. You watch it on TV and you think, oh, they called quarterback run, quarterback draw. Well, first off, that's not the way a play is called. And secondly, no, that's not the beginning and ending of that play. But as was the case a vast majority of the night, you get your right tackle blown up or you have an errant snap, then a lot of that timing is thrown off, and your quarterback at that point does the only thing he can do, and that is lower his chin and try and get what he can get. But, that was kind of a microcosm of the whole night. I mean, how could you possibly quantify how many of Alabama's drives or how many of their individual plays that would have gone for a 14 or 17-yard gain were negated for loss just due to an errant snap, which is wild because it was a problem in week 1, and it was a problem in week 4, and week 7, and week 9. And I think many people may have been like me. Every week you see that happen, you think to yourself in the moment, wow, this is inexcusable. But then when you're talking about the game afterwards or you're talking about the next week's game, you never really bring it up because you're just convinced this is major college football. This can't possibly continue to be an issue. Certainly it'll get cleaned up, and it never got cleaned up.
No, it didn't. It was really pretty. And now we are all very interested to see what happens. Does Seth McLaughlin stay at Alabama? Does he go into the portal? What does Alabama decide to do? And, of course, Alabama's portal window has been extended to January 6th. I know you've had a lot of portal intel. Very interesting is before you came on here, your employer, 24/7 Sports, talking about Will Howard from Kansas State, now visiting Ohio State. I thought he was destined for USC. This is some interesting developments in the portal.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times it's just dominoes, and I'm really fascinated by that stuff. I talk to our guys a lot about what they're hearing, and it's such a write-it-in-pencil sort of time of year.
Right.
Whatever's happening or being said right now could change hour to hour. I think, though, that when you look at the quarterback moves USC did make, that probably, Lincoln Riley actually said, that probably eliminated anyone else that was going to come here. And that's just the kid stepping up in the bowl game. And all of a sudden, Will Howard sees what he did and says, all right, well, I may need to look elsewhere. 5 years ago, that would have been being afraid of competition, and now that's just the way the portal works, I guess. But I think that when you look at Cam Ward, the kid from Washington State who was looking around, and him declaring for the draft, that did a lot because it took one of the biggest fish off the board, literally. He's not going to be a college football player, And what you have right now, as it's being explained to me, is you got a lot of demand still out there, and there's not a lot of supply at the moment on the quarterback marketplace. I think that had a lot to do with the Caden Salter kid going in from Liberty. I think it has a lot to do with maybe a couple of other decisions that are still yet to happen across the country. There is a huge, there's always a market for tackles, but there is a really, really big market for quarterbacks right now, and I'm not talking about Tier 3 and Tier 4 programs either.
Well, there will be a transfer portal quarterback playing Monday night for a national championship, and that is Michael Penix. You have seen him now up and close and personal a couple times this year. What makes this Washington team so – and I know you've talked about Washington in the past, but what makes them so underrated that they have a chance Monday night to beat Michigan?
Well, the best way I could describe it when they're at their best is if you go back to that ugly Clemson national title game in 2018 out in Santa Clara, and you remember those 50-50 balls, like every ball it seemed like Lawrence threw was grabbed by one of his receivers, didn't matter what you did. The Steven Garcia game back in 2010, every ball's put on the money, and you're saying, wow, we had good coverage on this, and it didn't matter. When Penix is on, that's the kind of stuff that happens. That's the kind of way it makes you feel. I mean, you look at Texas the other night. They sacked him 0 times, and they were in the backfield a lot. And you got to be asking yourself at some point, what are we supposed to do? You're supposed to tip your cap. That's what you're supposed to do, and that's what Texas had to do. I do think the difference here is the level of athlete and the level of physicality in the secondary from Michigan is at a little different level than Texas. In fact, it's at a much different level than Texas. And just in general, the contrast of styles in this game is about as glaring as you'd ever hope to get in a national championship game. You got the number 1 pass offense in the country against the number 2 pass defense in the country. And so if you're a big matchups guy, that's it. I mean, I couldn't imagine Michigan having to play keep up in a shootout. I can't imagine Washington trying to win a rock fight. And whoever dictates that sort of style early on obviously is given a great advantage to win that game.
Well, and you've seen them live and in person. Everybody talked about, including myself, that we thought that Texas had the advantage on the offensive and defensive lines. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Washington's O-line won the Joe Moore Award. Obviously, they did a nice job rushing the passer and getting after Quinn Ewers, almost knocked him out of the game. Have we undervalued Washington on the line of scrimmage?
Well, yeah, that's where they've been undervalued. And I did earlier in the year. It kind of helps when you'll just stand there, if you get the opportunity, obviously. If you can just stand there and you can watch them and you can eyeball them physically, or you can stand there and watch the line of scrimmage from field level, you realize this is not the case at all. And they got a bunch of grown men and a bunch of veteran players on the lines of scrimmage. It's not that you're going to go back and trace their high school lineage and it's a bunch of 5-stars across the board, but what you do have is you have cohesive units there that are plenty talented enough and more than capable of functioning the way they need to, and they play complementary to their offense and their defense as well. And the other part is I think Washington as a team, the big misnomer is people just can't convince themselves they have the talent roster to compete against a Texas or a Michigan. And my takeaway going into that Texas game was it's not about the 24/7 sports team talent composite. That's a resource. That's a guide you can use. I use it too. It's helpful. But it's just that. It's a tool to have at your disposal. The way football games happen is if you've got a dominant room, like a wide receiver room, it can take over a game. And it can negate all these other edges you have on paper. And it did with Texas the other night. It didn't matter that Texas was the more talented team. If they couldn't stop that wide receiver core, which saw 6 guys, half a dozen players for Washington had 3 receptions or more. If you got that going for you, it doesn't really matter that they've got more star power at the linebacker position. It just doesn't matter. And if that Michigan game plays out that way, it'll be the same result.
Josh Pate with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Josh, exciting those semifinal games were. They were great. They were everything. A lot of build-in now to the national championship game. But the rest of the bowl games, the coaches had to defend college football. I mean, that was
Kirby
the
Smart.
conversation. Yeah, every
So
coach had to
changes need
defend
to be
college
made.
football and changes that had to be made. That is what the biggest takeaway is from the rest of the bowl games.
Yeah, it is. I did spend a fair amount of time talking to a fair amount of people out there in L.A., and I think that I've never been more convinced that pretty major change is in the not-too-distant future for this sport. Now, what I do not know and what I don't think is decided yet is exactly what the mechanisms of those changes are. What I do know is the people who have to be on board for the changes to be made have never been more on board unilaterally than they are now. I mean, a lot of folks are very, very fed up with sort of this confluence of events, whether it is the portal or whether it is the calendar or whether it's NIL, all this stuff. It's not one individual thing, but it's a collection of things. And I think that it is somehow going to be tied at the hip with this playoff contract that we have coming up, which, guys, I don't know if a majority of people realize this yet, is not final. The broadcast partners, the schedule itself for next year's playoff has not been decided. The contract's not finalized yet. And after the next 2 years, we don't have a playoff period that's finalized. And so when you've got television partners in the room and you've got folks trying to maximize the dollar figure and the value of those deals, and then you've got the sport in such a state of flux and chaos right now, those two things don't compute. And so you've got all the motivated players in the room to finally put structure in this sport where it's needed to be for a long time. I think that some of the gripes we have right now may be moot points in the not-too-distant future.
Well, Josh, as we wind up this conversation, you did say at Late Kick Josh, and you mentioned it to start our conversation, that basically you're in hell with this Washington and Michigan game because of your record picking these two teams. You're starting to get a feel for it, though. What is your early feel, and can Michigan, play this bully ball against these guys, and can Washington block Michigan? I guess that's the big key.
I go back to, if I'm looking for a comp at least, I go back to the Oregon State game earlier this year, but it was played in rain and cold, and I don't know that it's the best comp, but it's the environment that closest reflects the environment that Washington will be put in against Michigan. And they played a totally different style that night, and they were able to win. And I was up there for that game. And it was one of the more impressive games that I saw anyone play this year, because anytime you're taken out of your comfort zone and you still win and you kind of control the game at the end, that's impressive to me. And so Washington did that. At the same time, I've seen Michigan, when folks want to throw the ball on them, which they need to do a lot because they're playing catch-up, it's exactly what they wait for. And it's exactly why the Michigan offense doesn't even have gaudy statistics. It's not because they're bad. It's because their defense has set them up with short fields so frequently this year, they haven't had to drive the length. And therefore, it looks like they're not putting up the yardage numbers, and their run game's in the 60s and whatnot. So, man, I think very early lean is, tell me the first quarter, and I'll tell you the way the game's about to go. Does anyone know that, by the way? Are either of you privy to the spoilers on that first quarter?
No,
sir.
No, I've tried, just can't get there.
Well, that's no help to me. I don't look. I would lean very, very slightly Michigan right now. Fortunately for everyone involved, I don't have to make a pick on this until tomorrow.
There you
go. Well, we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to Late Kick Live.
Yep.
Please always tune in. It's the best show in college football, really, most informative. We appreciate it. Happy New Year to you, Josh, and thank you for joining us and giving us some time. Safe travels to Houston.
I appreciate it, guys.
All right, thanks. Josh Pate there with us. Good stuff. Boy, we've learned a lot today.
It's been a very informative show.
Very informative.
And we saw lowriders.
And fried chicken.
Yeah.
Got to get a break in.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Look, Looks like we're going to wrap things up in pretty good shape this morning. We haven't picked up anything new accident-wise. Everything from earlier should be out of the way. Just a lot of folks scrambling, trying to get there on time this morning. You be careful as you make that last trip in. No hose, no mask. You can ask Dr. Sandman, it's Dr. Sandlin, for the medically proven benefits of the Somnodent for sleep apnea and for snoring. Dr. Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
The all-new Huntsville Boat Show returns to the Von Braun Center January 11th through the 14th, and I'll be broadcasting the Tom Abraham Show live from there at lunchtime on the 11th and 12th. The Huntsville Boat Show is an exciting time for all boat enthusiasts, as it allows buyers to save thousands of dollars on the purchase of a new boat or just shop many brands for your future purchase. Plus, many other retailers will be on hand as well for all things water. So plan to be at the Huntsville Boat Show at the VBC January 11th through 14th. See you there.
Isn't the story of the prodigal son an amazing story? Basically, a rowdy boy who literally wished his father dead ran away and consumed his wealth with hard and fast living. Yet the father looked for his return every day, and when the boy got tired of eating pig slop, he decided to return. What did the father do? As soon as he saw that boy, he ran to him, threw his arms around him, and killed the fatted calf for a great celebration. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of the Cross Point Church. If you're looking for a church home, come see us, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know all the ins and outs of insurance claims and will guide you through the entire process. Log on FlemingHSV.com and book your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
17 years ago today. 17 years ago today.
You're talking about when the Tide beat Texas?
17 years ago. Yep. That changed the course of Alabama football. Happy anniversary, Nick Saban.
And that wasn't the end. It was the beginning.
17.
And it still ain't over, no matter what some of these clowns talk about.
17 years ago is when he arrived in Tuscaloosa as head coach.
Oh, okay. My bad. I was
17 years ago, Nick Saban.
So that was even just 15 years ago. I
flew into the airport there in Tuscaloosa. I was there, mob scene.
Oh, yeah.
And crazy time. But anyway, so it's the anniversary of Nick Saban arriving as head coach at Alabama.
I was never good at math.
You never. That's why we're sitting here today.
Yeah. I'm sure as hell never gonna teach you math.
Oh, I ain't gonna teach you math. See. Anyway, let's go out to the phone lines. Wolverine Dan with us. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Dan.
Well, good morning. It was good to hear from Husky Dan.
Yeah.
I've got.
Thought we'd hear from him yesterday, but he said he had a day to recover.
Yeah, there you go. Offensively, the team is really, really strong. And your previous guest, wide receivers are phenomenal. I've heard this before, and you have too, because, you guys are Alabama. Defense wins championships. And I believe Mentor is one heck of a defensive coach. There's going to be a lot of formations that will be thrown at us, but I think we match up well, and he disguises a lot of blitzes. Mentor does, our defensive coach, which that's what you saw against Alabama, and zone and man-to-man defense. He'll mix that up. I think the defense is going to hold this team down a little bit scoring-wise, and I believe offensively, if we could just keep pounding the ball like we did against Alabama, I think, guys, it'll be a close game. But I believe if we can play defense like we did against you all, I think we're going to do just fine.
Well, they're going to have to win. They didn't win time of possession against Alabama, but they're going to have to against Washington. Washington is more explosive than the Tide.
Right, but again, it's hard to fill the ball when you're on your back.
Yeah, they're going to have to get pressure on Penix because Texas didn't get him on the ground. But Penix is a great player. Very mobile and a pinpoint passer, a better passer than Jalen Milroe.
Well, I'll give you that. But this is crazy. You've got old school football versus the run and gun. So that's how it's going to play out. That's going to be the theme of the game. And then again, we'll see how it plays out. But I like having the defense, and that does win championships.
It does.
No doubt.
So, all right, sir.
Thank you, Dan.
See you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Wolverine. I mean, there's going to be a lot to break down between Washington and Michigan over the next few days, and it'll be picked apart. Anyway, Monday night, college football national championship game. Did you see that Eli Drinkwitz got a new contract?
Oh, yeah. Saw that. Figured that was coming. He went from the hot seat to the penthouse. Because, he went 11-2. And
by the way, he was the third lowest paid college coach in the SEC going into this year.
Yeah.
$6 million a year is what Eli Drinkwitz was getting paid. Only Clark Lee and Zach Arnett were making less than what he was making. Zach Arnett was only making $3 million in Mississippi State, by the way, for that 1 year.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have learned a lot on this show. We did. We learned that Auburn potentially is going to make
changes on their staff.
Changes.
Could be a big
potentially.
Changes.
And then we learned a lot today. We learned that lowriders are back in California.
Yep, there we are. Where's the border? Stupid ass. Probably doesn't even know what day it is or that Washington's actually playing Michigan.
Or where Washington and Michigan are at.
Yeah, West Coast and the East Coast there.
Washington, D.C. as a team? Mm-hmm. Anyway, we've got to get a break in. 24-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow at it.
Football season and Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. The